From space, it looks like a set of alien crop circles, an emerald city carved into the high desert of Oregon. This is 3 Mile Canyon Farms, 93,000 acres, more cows than many towns have people, producing over 100 million gallons of milk each year in a place that sees less than 9 inches of rain. But behind the promise of endless cheese and carbon-neutral energy lies a dilemma no one expected. How does a metropolis of cows survive and thrive where almost nothing else can? Boardman, Oregon is not the first place most people think of for a dairy empire. The land here is as dry as old bones, with less than 9 inches of rain each year. That kind of dry climate would shrivel most crops and keep traditional dairies away. Yet that is exactly why 3 Mile Canyon Farms chose it. The high desert's isolation acts as a natural barrier, keeping out many of the diseases and pests that plague herds elsewhere. Dry air here means bacteria struggle to survive, making it easier to keep milk and manure cleaner and safer. Operations lead Jeff Wendler explains that in a wetter region, a single outbreak can sweep through a herd in days. Out here, with miles of open space and few neighbors, biosecurity is built into the geography itself. Trucks, workers, and feed all move along carefully monitored routes, but it is the land's natural defenses that set the foundation. The farm planners knew that if they could solve the water problem, the desert would give them a level of control unheard of in traditional dairy country. That is where the Columbia River comes in. It flows just miles away, bringing the one thing the desert lacks. Massive pumps draw river water through a network of pipes and center pivot irrigation systems, turning brown dust into green circles visible from space. Every drop is measured, every acre calculated. In a place where rain barely falls, the decision to build here was not just about finding cheap land. It was about designing a system where nature itself helps protect the herd. The result is a vast agricultural experiment rooted in the logic of biosecurity and the hard math of survival. 70,000 cows live here, more than the human population of many small cities. 3 Mile Canyon Farms is not just a dairy. It is a metropolis built for animals. Herds of Jersey and Holstein cows move through a network of freestall barns, each one designed to keep traffic flowing smoothly. Feed trucks run on strict schedules, following their own mapped routes to avoid bottlenecks. Every barn is a neighborhood with its own rhythm, its own routines. Managing a population this size takes more than just fences and feed. It requires urban planning on an agricultural scale. There are dedicated hospital barns for sick animals, staffed by veterinarians and technicians around the clock. Dr. Jeff Wendler, the farm's lead veterinarian, describes his job as part doctor, part city manager. Every cow is tagged with an RFID chip that tracks her movements, health, and even how much she eats every day. If one animal shows signs of illness, the system alerts the team long before symptoms spread. Traffic control is not limited to trucks and tractors. The cows themselves follow set paths from barn to milking parlor, guided by gates and gentle nudges from staff. At peak times, thousands of animals are on the move, but the flow is steady, never chaotic. The scale is astonishing. Tens of thousands of animals, each with their own needs, all managed through a blend of technology, logistics, and constant oversight. This is livestock management reimagined as city planning, where the health of the herd depends on precision and relentless attention to detail. Inside the heart of 3 Mile Canyon Farms, the milking parlors never sleep. 6 rotary carousels, each the size of a suburban house, spin day and night in a carefully timed dance. Every cow knows her part. She steps onto the moving platform, guided by a gentle hand or a nudge from the cow behind her. The floor glides forward, carrying 80 cows at a time past a line of technicians. Each technician works with quiet precision, cleaning, attaching milking cups, checking for any sign of trouble. The entire process is measured to the second, 7 minutes from start to finish, no more, no less. Parlor technician Maria Torres describes the rhythm as almost hypnotic. She says, "You learn to move with the cows. They know the routine. Some even line up early, waiting for their turn. If one hesitates, we help her on. But most just walk up like they are boarding a bus. As the platform rotates, the milking machines do their work, drawing out gallons of milk in a closed system that keeps everything clean and efficient. When a cow completes her lap, a gate swings open and she steps off, making room for the next in line. With 6 carousels running around the clock, the farm can milk tens of thousands of cows every day without a break. There are no bottlenecks, no wasted motion. Every rotation is tracked, every cow logged. The result is a mechanical ballet, steady, relentless, and astonishing in its scale. For the technicians, it is a job that blends routine with responsibility. Each 7-minute cycle, another link in the chain that keeps the farm's vast operation in motion. Every hour, a line of stainless steel tanker trucks pulls away from 3 Mile Canyon farms, each one loaded with fresh milk, headed for the processors that keep supermarket shelves stocked across the country. The numbers are hard to grasp at first. Over 100 million gallons of milk flow out of this single operation every year. That is roughly 2 million pounds of milk collected every day, enough to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool every 36 hours. The pace never lets up. Tankers run on a strict schedule, rolling out day and night, 7 days a week. Each truck carries about 6,000 gallons, and with more than 30 departures every day, the cadence is relentless. Quality is not sacrificed for speed. Before a drop of milk leaves the farm, it is tested for bacteria, antibiotics, and butterfat content. The butterfat is especially important to the buyers waiting down the road. Among them, one name stands out: Tillamook. The entire output of 3 Mile Canyon's dairy herd is contracted to the Tillamook County Creamery Association. For Tillamook, the high butterfat milk from the farm's Jersey cows is the secret ingredient behind the brand's signature cheese, rich, creamy, and consistent enough to meet the demands of a national market. "Our cheese starts at 3 Mile Canyon," the spokesperson says. "The volume and quality they provide are not just impressive, they are the backbone of our business. Without this farm, we could not supply stores across the country." The economic scale is staggering. Every gallon of milk is converted into cheese, butter, and other dairy products that appear on shelves from Portland to New York. The farm's ability to deliver such massive quantities day after day is what allows Tillamook to remain a household name. But this constant extraction comes with a hidden cost. For every gallon shipped out, there is an equal and opposite challenge building up behind the scenes, a logistical and environmental puzzle that grows larger with every passing hour. Every day, more than 1 million gallons of manure flow out of the barns at 3 Mile Canyon farms. This is not a trickle or a seasonal surge. It is a steady, relentless tide, the natural consequence of housing tens of thousands of cows in one place. Left untreated, this volume would swamp the land, filling lagoons with waste and releasing methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. But here, the problem does not pile up. It is pumped away. The solution sits at the edge of the complex, a cluster of steel tanks and pipes known as the methane digester. Operations Manager Greg Harris describes it as the farm's true engine. Manure is flushed from the barns and piped into massive sealed vessels where it is heated and mixed in the absence of oxygen. Over several days, microbes break down the waste and release methane-rich biogas. Instead of venting into the atmosphere, the gas is scrubbed, purified, and injected into a natural gas pipeline. The farm says the output is enough to heat thousands of homes or to fuel a fleet of trucks every year. Inside the control room, engineers monitor pressure gauges and flow meters, tracking every cubic foot of gas. Harris points to a digital readout and says, "We are capturing almost all the methane." The digester does not just reduce odors and shrink the risk of nitrate runoff, it turns waste into something valuable and slots the farm into the growing market for renewable fuels. Yet the story does not end with the sales pitch. Independent analysts like Dr. Lisa Tran from Oregon State University study the numbers behind the claims. Life cycle audits examine not just the methane captured, but the emissions that slip through leaks, the energy used to run the system, and the carbon footprint of the entire operation. The farm reports a 99.9% methane recovery rate, with slip measured at less than 0.1%. Tran cautions that even small, fugitive emissions can add up at this scale, and the true climate impact depends on every step, from barn to pipeline. 3 Mile Canyon's digester is a model of industrial ingenuity, but the math behind negative carbon is complex and still under debate. For now, the waste that threatened to overwhelm the farm is being redirected, transformed, and sold as energy. The question is whether the numbers on paper and in practice can keep pace with the promise. Inside the control room, Greg Harris, the agronomy lead, tracks every gallon of digestate flowing from the methane digester. What was once a waste problem has become the farm's most valuable resource. The liquid left after methane extraction is loaded with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, nutrients that crops need to thrive. Instead of buying synthetic fertilizer, the farm pumps this sterile, nutrient-rich liquid straight into its center pivot irrigation systems. Every acre of corn, alfalfa, and triticale draws its feed directly from the cow's own byproducts. Harris explains that they are closing the loop. The cows feed the fields, and the fields feed the cows. Beneath the barns, the story continues with sand. Cows at 3 Mile Canyon sleep on beds of washed sand, not straw or sawdust. Sand is cool, resists bacteria, and cushions the animals' joints. But hauling in fresh sand for tens of thousands of stalls would be a logistical nightmare. Instead, facilities manager Linda Nguyen oversees a reclamation lane that recycles 98% of the sand. After each barn cleaning, sand and manure are separated. The sand is washed and dried, and then it is returned to the stalls. Nguyen says they almost never have to buy new sand. It just keeps going around. This system not only cuts costs, but helps keep the barns cleaner and the cows healthier. The resource loop does not stop at fertilizer and bedding. In a warehouse at the edge of the property, processor manager Carlos Ramirez supervises the arrival of truckloads of vegetable scraps, potato peels, onion skins, and other leftovers from nearby food plants. Each week, hundreds of tons of material that would have ended up in a landfill are blended into the feed ration. Nutritionists on staff analyze every batch for calories, fiber, and protein, ensuring the cows get a balanced diet. Ramirez notes that it is good for the cows and good for the planet. We are turning waste into milk. Across the operation, these circular systems keep outside purchases to a minimum. Fertilizer, bedding, and even part of the cow's diet are all produced on site, using what would otherwise be discarded. For 3 Mile Canyon farms, efficiency is measured not just in gallons of milk, but in how little leaves and how much is reused within the boundaries of the farm. Every morning at 3 Mile Canyon Farms begins with new life. On average, more than 100 calves are born here each day, enough to fill a small schoolhouse by lunchtime. The scale is hard to imagine, but for Brittany Casperson, the calf care manager, each arrival is an individual story. Every newborn is guided into its own hutch, a plastic shelter lined with clean straw and space to prevent the spread of illness. Within the first hour, a technician delivers a measured dose of warm colostrum, the antibody-rich first milk that gives calves a fighting chance against disease. Timing is everything. Calves that receive colostrum within the first 2 hours are far more likely to thrive. Staff work in shifts around the clock, maintaining a ratio that ensures no animal is overlooked. Dr. Jeff Wendler, the lead veterinarian, reviews health logs daily, checking for signs of fever or dehydration. The protocol is simple but relentless. Feed, monitor, clean, repeat. In this industrial-scale nursery, care is measured not just in numbers, but in the attention given to each fragile life. Massive pumps draw water from the Columbia River day and night, supplying the lifeblood for 39,000 acres of crops and tens of thousands of cows. That scale, measured in acre-feet, not gallons, has made 3 Mile Canyon Farms a lightning rod in Oregon's ongoing debate over water rights. Environmental groups like Columbia Riverkeeper point to the sheer volume of withdrawals, warning that every acre irrigated here is one less for the river's endangered salmon runs and the communities downstream. In 2018, a coalition of non-governmental organizations filed challenges over new permit requests, citing risks to aquifer levels and the long-term health of the basin. Water rights attorney Lisa McGregor explains that under Oregon law, older permits often guarantee access even in drought, locking in huge allocations for farms like this one. Critics argue that these laws, written for a different era, have not caught up to the realities of climate change and population growth. The farm's managers counter with data on efficiency upgrades, variable speed pumps, lined ditches, and closed-loop recycling of wastewater. But the tension remains. Every drop pulled from the Columbia is measured and permitted, but the legal and ecological stakes go far beyond the farm's fences. A patchwork of wild grassland and sagebrush stretches across 23,000 acres at the edge of 3 Mile Canyon Farms, set aside as a conservation easement. This protected buffer, created in partnership with the Nature Conservancy, is home to species like the Washington ground squirrel, a threatened animal whose fate is now tied to the boundaries of an industrial farm. Conservation biologist Dr. Emily Foster walks transects through the easement with a clipboard, tracking burrow counts and plant diversity. She explains that the land here is managed for habitat first, with no plows or pesticides and periodic surveys to monitor the health of native populations. She calls it a rare experiment, heavy industry, and untouched wilderness, side by side. Beyond the fence line, the human operation hums with its own complexity. More than 400 employees keep the farm running, from veterinarians and agronomists to mechanics and data analysts. Human resources lead. Carlos Jimenez describes the workforce as a city in miniature, with shifts around the clock and a web of responsibilities that never sleeps. Every worker carries an RFID badge, logging hours, locations, and safety checks. In the barns, technicians use handheld scanners to monitor cow health, while dashboard screens in the office track animal movement and feed consumption in real time. For Maria, a feed truck driver, technology is both a lifeline and a safeguard, helping her navigate the maze of roads and barns while ensuring every animal gets the right ration. On this farm, stewardship is not just about the land or the animals. It is about the people who keep the system moving, each one a link in a chain that stretches from the easement to the milking parlor. This isn't just the future of farming, it's the reality feeding millions today. As global demand for protein rises and resources tighten, industrial circular systems like this become the rule, not the exception. But every gallon pumped from desert to dairy deepens the debate over sustainability. The question is no longer if we can scale food, it's what we're willing to trade for it. Share your take in the comments.